2025. This premier New Year diplomatic address is part of our open diplomacy geared towards inspiring us to recommit ourselves to working closely together to yield better and transformative outcomes for our people and the world at large. By doing so together, we can ensure that our diplomatic engagements and foreign policy agenda remain responsive to the needs of our people. It remains forward-looking and strategically positioned to thrive in an interconnected world. Your Excellency, with your permission, before I invite you to the podium, let me acknowledge the presence of the following from the Kenyan government. The Attorney General, Dorcas Oduor, Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, Interior and National Administration, the Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome, the Cabinet Secretary Salim Vuria, the Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos, the Cabinet Secretary Eric Muga, the Cabinet Secretary Beatrice Askul, Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya, Cabinet Secretary Deborah Barasa, Cabinet Secretary Lee Kinyanjui, Cabinet Secretary Adan Duale, Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir, Cabinet Secretary Soipan Tuya, and our Chairman of the Defense and Intelligence Committee. Thank you, Koech. Then let me also acknowledge the following principal secretaries who are here. We have, oh, by the way, there are also many members of Parliament who are part of the committee. Please stand up for acknowledgement. Thank you. Thank you for all being here with your chair. Thank you so much. Let me recognize the following principal secretaries: Raymond Omolo, Dr. Korir Singoe, Ambassador Julius Bitok, Roslyn Jogu, Paul Rono, Susan Mangeni, Hassan Abubakar, Harry Kimutai, Alfred Kumbudo, Patrick Kilemi. Is there any that I have missed out? Ah, the man who's building the houses. Hinga. Thank you, Hinga. So, Your Excellency, I thought that I should, and of course the other senior government officials here, I just thought I should put it in perspective, because this is a very serious engagement with yourself and the diplomatic community, that we present ourselves to fully anchor you as you speak to us. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my singular honor and pleasure to request you to be upstanding so that we can invite His Excellency to the podium. I think he'll be speaking after your address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, PCS. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. First, let me take this opportunity to apologize that we were supposed to start this meeting at 9, but I was told there is a bus that came late that was carrying some very important people. So I hope next time the bus will keep time. Excellencies, High Commissioners, Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your presence here today and hope that you are keeping and enjoying Kenya's warm hospitality. Let me join PCS in saying Happy New Year. Not long ago, we gathered to mark 60 years of Kenya's diplomatic journey and the 61st Jamhuri Day, both momentous milestones reflecting our resilience and commitment to international cooperation. Over the years, Kenya has worked tirelessly with many of the nations and organizations represented here to address pressing bilateral and multilateral issues. The New Year diplomatic address underscores our foreign policy's focus, not just on advancing national interests for Kenya, but on building bridges, fostering respect, and promoting shared purposes across all our friends. Your presence highlights the importance of our collective efforts in strengthening diplomatic ties. I am therefore pleased to announce that this year's address will be institutionalized as an annual event to reflect on past achievements, deepen collaboration with diplomatic community, and set future priorities. Regular engagements will enhance mutual understanding and strategic alignment on many issues that affect all our nations. Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, Kenya's commitment to diplomacy has allowed us to forge strong global relationships. Since independence, we have expanded our diplomatic footprint from 6 missions to now 70 stations across the world. We continue to prioritize regional integration, intra-African ties, economic diplomacy, and global peace and security. To better engage our diaspora, the State Department for Diaspora Affairs was established in 2022 to protect, empower, and support Kenyan citizens abroad. I'm very proud of what that State Department has managed to achieve in the last 2 short years. In December, I launched the revised Kenya Foreign Policy 2024, aligning our diplomatic strategy with evolving global dynamics. This policy reaffirms our commitment to international partnerships, regional cooperation, sustainable development, and positioning Kenya as a key player in global affairs. Our foreign policy priorities include deepening diplomatic ties, championing Pan-Africanism, expanding international cooperation, enhancing regional stability, fostering economic development, advocating climate justice, addressing global health challenges, and pursuing an equitable reform process in both international finance and international governance. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Kenya's diplomacy continues to strengthen as reflected in our vibrant civil society, free press, and active citizenry. Our Constitution upholds transparency, inclusiveness, and good governance, cementing our status as a stable democracy. Democracy extends beyond elections. It is about national unity and shared responsibility. We have embraced an inclusive governance model that fosters cohesion across political, regional, and social divides. Africa's youthful population presents both opportunities and challenges. We see Kenya's growing youth demographic as a strength. Our policies focus on job creation, entrepreneurial support, and investments in technology and creative economy. We are also securing bilateral labor agreements to provide our youth with global employment opportunities and I appreciate the support of all our partner nations in this effort. Our economic recovery efforts are delivering results. We remain focused on infrastructure development, universal health care, education, electricity access, job creation, and reducing the cost of living, and also so that we can improve livelihoods. At the same time, we are minimizing waste, eliminating inefficiencies, closing avenues, and intensifying the fight against corruption. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda remains central to our development strategy, driving progress in agriculture, housing, healthcare, micro, small, and medium enterprises, and digital innovation. Our subsidized fertilizer program and expanded irrigation have boosted food security, while affordable housing projects are creating jobs and improving living standards of many Kenyans. Taifa Care is making healthcare more accessible, and the Hustler Fund has provided over 60 billion in affordable credit to personal and small businesses. Kenya is also advancing its digital economy with over 18,000 kilometers of fiber optic connectivity completed in the last 2 years, while our target is 100,000 in 5 years. And we are also growing investments in the creative industry. Kenya remains committed to clean energy, investing in renewable manufacturing such as solar panels and batteries. As we pursue these goals, I encourage the diplomatic community to explore opportunities for public-private partnership, trade and investment, so as to drive mutual prosperity between Kenya and the countries that you represent. Through robust bilateral partnerships, Kenya has secured critical support for transformative projects, attracted foreign investments, and strengthened collaboration in trade, health, education, security, and technology. In 2024, we engaged in high-level state visits, joint commissions, economic forums, and strategic engagements to advance our diplomatic priorities. Looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, we aim to deepen our existing bilateral relations while expanding our global reach through mutually beneficial partnerships, including strengthening South-to-South cooperation and other interventions. Kenya has risen to the global stage in a world where Cold War-era divides are giving way to pluralism and diversified diplomacy. Our objective is to forge partnerships that deliver tangible benefits for all our people. In this regard, I am eager to explore new avenues of cooperation with each and every country that you represent. Our approach to regional peace, security, and prosperity is anchored in the belief that unity and integration are essential to unlock the full potential of East Africa, Africa, and beyond. This commitment is reflected in our leadership within regional organizations such as the East African Community, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, and the Africa Union, of course. As the current chair of the East African Community, Kenya is dedicated to advancing the community's objectives by building on past achievements. Strengthening intra-regional trade remains a priority as it holds immense potential for economic growth and creating opportunities for jobs and for enterprise. We are also focused on enhancing regional infrastructure connectivity and addressing security challenges within East Africa. Beyond the East Africa and the EAC, Kenya remains an active member of the Africa Union, playing a key role in peace building across the continent. I am honored to serve as the champion for Africa Union reforms, a role aimed at enhancing the Union's ability to respond effectively to Africa's challenges. Recently, I hosted a retreat for African heads of state to advance the Africa Union reform agenda, critical steps that will ensure the Union is better equipped to address conflict resolution, economic development, and also share good governance. Kenya is also proud to nominate our distinguished Pan-Africanist, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, for the position of the chairperson of the Africa Union Commission. His candidacy reflects Kenya's broader vision of strengthening African institutions to better serve our continent's people. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, peace and security remains central to Kenya's vision for a stable and prosperous region. Over the years, we have played a key role in mediating conflicts and addressing some of the most complex security challenges in our region. Kenya remains a reliable partner in regional and international peace and security efforts. Over the weekend, I was in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, co-chairing the first ever EAC SADC Joint Summit on the security situation in the DRC. Together with other leaders, we called for an immediate ceasefire, humanitarian access, and a peaceful resolution through a merged Nairobi-Luanda process that will centralize around dialogue. We made it very clear that there cannot be, and there is no possibility, of a military solution to this DRC problem. It is regrettable that diplomatic missions and peacekeeping forces, including SADC and UN personnel, have come under attack in DRC. We urged the DRC government to ensure the safety of diplomatic staff and peace missions. Peace initiatives such as the DRC process require sustained funding. However, many efforts falter due to inconsistent financing, leading to delays that create vacuums and risk further violence. To prevent this, we must establish a structured and predictable mechanism for funding peace initiatives. I urge states and international organizations to work together to guarantee adequate resources for effective peace building. In fact, as part of the reorganization of the Africa Union in the reform process, is to do more around conflict prevention and peace building, rather than managing conflicts when they are already fully blown. These are some of the discussions we will be having this week in Addis. To this end, we propose that EAC and SADC ministers convene a joint meeting to establish a joint technical team under the two regional secretariats. This team would develop a coordinated strategy for financing, ensuring accountability, and mobilizing support from partners, including those gathered here today, hopefully. A structured approach to funding and international engagement is essential to sustaining the EAC SADC Peace Initiative in the DRC. And to just give you a broad aspects of what this is all about, is that we believe that first we need to merge the Nairobi and Luanda processes, because having two concurrent processes running parallel creates unnecessary competition, creates avenues for forum shopping, and many other things that undermine the ultimate goal of these processes. So we agreed that these processes should be merged into one. Number two, we also agreed that we should expand the space for facilitators, so that instead of having one facilitator, we will have 3 facilitators. And we are in consultation between me and my co-chair on identifying the additional facilitators so that we can provide a more robust mechanism and energize the whole process of mediation in the DRC. And number 3 is to focus on both intra-Congolese dialogue amongst the parties in the DRC, and also in the dialogue between DRC and its neighbors, more particularly with Rwanda. That will be the focus of the mediation process and the facilitation process, and the merger of these 2 processes. We will be proposing for an endorsement from the summit of the African heads of state. And to avoid the pitfalls of the past, both processes suffered funding challenges. We have agreed that this time round, we want to agree on a funding mechanism that is predictable and that can sustain the whole process to its conclusion, because the situation in DRC is so dire, is so tragic. In fact, it is an indictment to leadership, not just in our region, but I think globally as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as the East African chair, I also echo the calls of the African Union, SADC, the UN, the G7, European Union, Britain, and the United States, and others, for all the parties in the DRC conflict to prioritize negotiations, dialogue, and commit to all of us working towards achieving lasting peace. Kenya's peace and security efforts extend across the continent, to the Tumaini initiative, which is aimed at fostering dialogue and reconciliation in South Sudan, to our contribution towards stabilizing Somalia. On the Tumaini process, we believe that process is in the tail end. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month or 2, we should be able to conclude that process and allow the people of South Sudan to focus on their development towards an election that will give the people of South Sudan the opportunity to choose their leaders. On the Somali process, we are participating in the post-ATMIS arrangement and possibly working with other partners in the new arrangement to see how efforts of stabilizing Somalia can be achieved using and working with all the troop contributing countries and all the other partners that are supporting that process. We urge our international partners to support these missions and ensure their success. In late January, I met Sudan's foreign minister and discussed the terrible situation in Sudan, and I believe this is our next frontier of engagement. I had a robust engagement with the President al-Sisi of Egypt on these matters touching on Sudan, and on what Kenya and Egypt and all the other neighbors can contribute towards the situation that keeps deteriorating in Sudan. The toll on human life, the serious situation, humanitarian situation, the atrocities that are going on in that country are just unimaginable. And we cannot continue, it cannot continue to be what it is. And therefore, even as we hem in on Somalia, and on DRC, and concluding what we are doing in South Sudan, Sudan must of necessity be the next frontier for us to focus. Beyond Africa, Kenya is also contributing to global security through the Multinational Security Support Initiative in Haiti, demonstrating our commitment to Pan-African solidarity wherever it is needed. I invite the diplomatic community to encourage their governments to join us in this vital humanitarian and multilateral effort. I must thank countries that have worked with us, El Salvador and all the other countries, Jamaica, and of course the support of the United States and the UN family in advancing the cause of peace and stability in Haiti. Kenya remains steadfast in its commitment to multilateralism, recognizing international cooperation as an essential to address global challenges. As the host of the only UN headquarters in Africa and the Global South, the UN office in Nairobi, alongside UNEP and UN Habitat, Kenya continues to champion multilateral engagement. Our leadership in environmental and climate diplomacy is guided by the outcomes of the Africa Climate Summit in 2023, which emphasized the need for increased climate adaptation and mitigation financing. These commitments continue to shape our priorities in the new year. We are actively working to enhance Nairobi's position as a hub for multilateral diplomacy by ensuring international organizations enjoy necessary privileges. We continue to expand infrastructure and to enhance our security situation, not just in Kenya, but more specifically in Nairobi. However, the evolving global landscape calls for urgent reforms to make multilateral institutions more responsive to the needs of all nations. Kenya strongly supports UN reform, particularly greater representation for Africa. With 54 member states, 28% of the UN's membership, Africa must have a stronger voice to uphold fairness and equality in global decision-making. We hold similar views regarding international financial institutions. Kenya supports efforts to reform the global financial architecture, ensuring fair debt restructuring, climate financing, and development support. I urge our esteemed partners to back these necessary reforms for more equitable and just economic system. Kenya's efforts to secure concessional funding through AIDA window of the World Bank, that I championed during the AIDA 21 Replenishment Summit in Nairobi, resulted in raising US dollars 100 billion, the highest ever. This was a monumental step as we work towards assisting 75 countries that are least developed, a majority of whom are in our continent. On environmental matters, inaction and geopolitical divisions only heighten the risk we all face. Climate threats do not recognize borders. They demand a collective global response. I urge nations and world leaders to recognize climate action as an imperative for survival and for shared responsibility. Kenya remains committed to collaborating with like-minded nations to push the climate agenda forward. Domestically, Kenya has made remarkable progress in transitioning to a green economy, with over 93% of our grid electricity generating from renewable resources such as geothermal, wind, and solar. Our national tree planting and restoration campaign targeting 15 billion trees by 2032, is on course. In 2024, our efforts led to the planting and growing of 750 million trees. As we approach COP30, we call on international partners to honor their climate financing commitments. Kenya will continue leading by example, advocating equitable climate financing, and ensuring Africa's voice remains central in global climate discussions. I urge for your support in this endeavor. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I commend the diplomatic missions and international organizations in Kenya for their cooperation, goodwill, and support. Your contribution in trade, investment, health, education, technology transfer, infrastructure development, capacity building, and security are invaluable. Kenya deeply values the expertise and resources you bring to our shared efforts. The diplomatic community serves as a vital bridge between nations, fostering dialogue and cooperation. I invite you to engage freely with our government on matters of mutual interest. Kenya remains your dependable and committed partner in bilateral, regional, and global affairs. As we embark on this new year, I extend my warmest wishes for a prosperous and impactful year ahead. Let us strengthen our partnerships to ensure that our collective efforts translate into meaningful progress for our people and for the world. Once again, thank you for your continued support and collaboration, and may God bless you. Thank you very much.
Another warm clap for His Excellency. Let's take our seats, please. Your Excellency, sir, with your permission, will now progress to a brief diplomatic engagement, and this will be moderated by Principal Secretary Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Sing'oei. And I'm sure if not all ambassadors, most of them have learnt a bit of Kiswahili, so let me put it to the test. Tumpigie makofi akija. Okay, we'll have the Prime Cabinet Secretary coming to moderate that. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Your Excellency.